We pick this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cow Corner Dugout. And here we are, game day 14. And right now, Delhi Capitals are playing. I don't know if it's a winning game or a losing game, but it's quite a close game. Delhi Capitals are playing the Gujarat Titans. And as much as we're watching this game, we will come to the review of this game in a bit. But tonight on the show, joining me are two of the usual suspects, Nirav and Pranay. And joining us again back on the podcast is Shamak. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so as the DCGT game is going on, and I think there were 51 or 20 balls. I don't know if David Miller is back again. Okay, I thought they retired him out.
He was a retired hurt.
Yeah, retired hurt, yeah. He hurt his hand while hitting the six, I think.
But yeah,
he first hurt his hand while diving for a catch. It was like he was fielding at short extra cover. He dived and there were the practice pitches and he got his hand scraped at that point of time. So I think he was struggling from that time. As was Rahul actually. Rahul also got a ball at the edge of his fingers while keeping. So if you notice a couple of shots, he pulled his hand out of the bat.
I thought he was just being retired, like they do, right? Saying that, let's retire this
No,
person out because he's
not retired out. No, he wasn't retired out.
I don't think they could have
It's David
afforded
Miller.
to have enough batting.
Yeah, he's back now.
So yes, the 50 or 20 reminds me of this was exactly the score required in the GT versus CSK final that happened in 2023, and CSK won from there. So GT is bowling again. I was there that night, so
was I.
Minus Mohit Sharma.
Minus Mohit
No,
Sharma.
minus a lot of dew and covered pitches and all that. So it's a very different. This is actually.
दिल्ली में dew नहीं आता क्या?
दिल्ली में आज ड्यू नहीं है ना 20 डिग्री है
20 degrees when I went last Sunday to Delhi it was like 35 36
so they've had some
rain in between
whatever, I guess. So when the temperature is down there's no dew, right? Dew happens at a certain amount of temperature and a certain range of humidity.
Wow, KL Rahul is like your top order power play hitter, is also your middle overs enforcer, is now the finisher. Single role, 3-in-1 roles for Delhi Capitals.
I personally feel KL Rahul's best role is actually in the middle order in limited overs internationals. Not just international, in limited overs cricket in general. I feel like he's, in ODIs we've seen in the last 5-7 years now, in the middle order, he really thrives. He's got a fantastic record, great average, great strike rate. I personally feel like he's better off batting in the middle order, 4-5. Compared to opening, but that being said, today he's playing an absolute gem of an innings.
Where does KL Rahul actually slots?
Do you think he has a high enough strike rate, or do you think he can finish games like
Oh, gone.
Miller?
That's it. KL's gone. So KL's gone. 92 51 balls.
So DC has properly choked this. They were in cruise control.
Shetty is disappointed. Yeah, I think DC could have won this game. I think Aksar's shot, the way he played it, kind of gave the game away. But we'll get back to the GT versus DC game. I'm just going to go back from yesterday's game because last night we didn't do our podcast. We did me and Hindustan separately recorded one more, while the rain was on. But what did you think of last night? I'm just going to go also put our little set of narratives, that we have. Last night, if there was one thing that kind of blew your mind away, for me, it was very clearly what I had seen with the way Vaibhav Suryavanshi, started that particular match, and it kind of stood out for me. So, but I'm just curious if that was also the same for the three of you.
Yes and no. I don't think Bumrah was on full tilt. He was bowling mid 120s, 130s, and he bowled 2 full tosses in the over, 2 short balls, and only 2 balls seemed to be 2 balls were landed on a length. So, an incredible feat, no doubt, but that is not Bumrah on full tilt. What about you guys?
I haven't gotten over Vaibhav versus Bumrah, but especially that first shot that he hit. Nevertheless, to even think about hitting Bumrah, I know it's a shortened game. What I like is the muscle memory and the way that kid is thinking of, I'm going to attack every ball. So who's bowling doesn't make a difference. It's something that Virender Sehwag used to say. I'm now seeing it in action where he's having an attacking shot for any length that is bowled. And to me, it's a remarkable feat, but that's just what I observed. What about you, Shamak?
Yeah, no, I think Vaibhav is easily the most exciting young batter I've seen in years. Like I've at this point become a little bit desensitized towards very exciting batting just because of the nature of T20 cricket, the nature of pitches. Vaibhav is one guy who I will, even if I'm like busy working or something, I'm going to take time out and I'm going to watch Vaibhav bat just because he's that exhilarating to watch. And the way he took on Bumrah, for taking down Bumrah, taking on Bumrah itself is a massive deal. So kudos to the kid. He's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not yet making a documentary as much as we've seen people hitting Bumrah over cow corner and then starting to make documentaries. But that's not the case. But Neerav, you've been in different IPL team camps. You've seen people bat. You've seen youngsters bat. You've seen coaches in the way they look at talent. How do you think if somebody else were to look at Vaibhav Suryavanshi, having seen some of his shots, do you see anything different from what you've so far seen or covered in the IPL over the last 10 years?
Well, I haven't seen him from close quarters. So, I mean, my one memory is, believe it or not, of Nicholas Puran from, I think, 2016 in MI. Where that kid was hitting entire MI attack, over the Garware Pavilion. So he would clear those boundaries in the nets, is what I'm talking. So that obviously shows promise, which gets fulfilled 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So if this is what this guy is showing now, not in nets but in match conditions, I mean, I hope he has good people around him, because Indian cricket is, ripe with stories of phenomenally talented teenagers not fulfilling their destinies. So this guy, at least in white ball cricket, I know there is a lot of question marks on his red ball abilities. So I'd like him. Actually, I don't think, I personally think he shouldn't be fast tracked to try and play in India in the next, play for India in the, Zimbabwe or Afghanistan, or, play against a lesser team in that sense this year, which there is a lot of buzz on social media that he should and he shouldn't. I feel that he should be allowed a grind of at least 1 year in proper first class cricket, right? His first class average, to the best of my knowledge, is I think it's about 17 or something. Okay, somebody quickly check that, please. And that is just not. It's not telling one way or the other, because the sample size is probably not big enough.
Right.
He didn't, that emerging nations team cup or whatever, he had he had a tough tournament playing against overseas bowlers, but he's facing the best bowlers in the world here, right? So let's see who all have they played. They played Chennai, they played MI, and who's the third team they played? Jeez.
They played Rajasthan
GT.
Royals, had in Guwahati,
GT.
they played Chennai.
GT.
And it was
GT.
against GT, he scored a century last year.
Yeah.
Last year,
Yeah, and this time he scored only 40 odd. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm really excited with what he can do over the next 20 years. For that, I think it's worth putting him to a tougher grind.
Right.
Another point on Vaibhav. There's two ways or two paths he can take. The Sachin Tendulkar route, he has good people around him. He's really into the game. He's dedicated. Or he can go the Mohammad Ashraful route. I don't know if you guys remember him. I think he has the second most. He has the second most runs, or the most runs internationally as a teenager. But then I don't think he did much after that. Same with Prithvi Shaw. So it'll be interesting to see which path he sways in. So as Neerav said, hopefully he has good people around him.
Right. When you talk about Mohammad Ashraful, Ashraful for us, if a tag was there, is somebody who played for Bangladesh, who scored a century when he was very young. So you're the youngest in our group here. You're just finished your class 12 and you're in a dark green uniform. So it looks like it's there's a resemblance there to Mohammad Ashraful. But I get where you're coming from. Mohammad Ashraful, in fact, despite all of that promise, he ended up with not the right set of people, and his career kind of went astray with the match fixing allegations that happened at his time. But that said, I think Vaibhav Suryavanshi really has taken the nation's attention, and everybody is wanting him to do well. And I, for one, when the Under 19 World Cup happened earlier this year, I realized that in the first 5-6 games he had not got a big score, and then comes the final, the guy comes and scores 175. He had spoken somewhere before that he wanted to emulate Gale's feat. Got close to that, but this was a 50-over game. But I like the fact that he came good despite not having a series of big scores. Came good in the final, scored a match-winning knock, and he was able
to. He
to
in the semi-final as well, right? He scored a few runs in the semi-final as well, if I remember correctly.
I mean, I kind of generally meant the Big Daddy hundreds, because after seeing him last year with against Gujarat Titans, he scored that 100 versus Rashid Khan, swatting bowlers around. That level of dominance to score a big 100. Yes, I think that's where I came from.
He had 100 in the Under 19s. There was a bilateral in Australia, but I think he got 100 in the first game.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And he was frequently getting starts. He wasn't getting the big runs, but he was getting those 10-ball 30s pretty regularly.
Yeah. Which is what his role is in an IPL game.
Yeah.
But not in a India Under 19 setup. I think that he's far too good.
But it scares the shit out of me that if somebody can bat like T20 in a 50-over game, then you are basically having the next generation trying to basically play the game so differently. There's this influence of white ball cricket coming in ODIs. I mean, when I say T20 coming in ODIs,
because in that Under 19 final, it was 215 25 overs when he got out. So, so that's what he does. Because he can do a lot of damage repeatedly. Like, it's not once I have this joke that the best way to get Webber out is hope and pray that he's in the non-striker's end throughout the power play, right? Because then you have a chance, right? Because that's when he's been typically getting out. Mistiming a lofted shot somewhere in the deep, somebody takes a good catch. That's pretty much been his pattern of dismissals. So the chances of just two fielders in the outfield doing that during the power play is limited. So your best chance with him is, but then the danger is that in a situation like this, you have Yashasvi Jaiswal at the other end, right? So,
and that's a point I actually wanted to make. Yashasvi Jaiswal, what do you do, man? The guy's done everything that he can. And while we're talking about this, Steve Bai's comment is there that Lads Miller is going to win this.
Yeah, we'll come to this.
What a shot. It's a no-look 6 by David Miller. And that's...
Who? Does the 18-year-old know who Colin Miller is?
The blue hair guy, he can bowl pace and spin.
Yes.
He played for...
Wow, man.
Right. So we'll pop up the comments.
WA Tasmania, I think.
So this is 19 of 9. 19 of 9, and I think DC have done extremely well. Mohammad Siraj being hit
6-4-6. That's 6-4-6.
The penultimate over. Reminds me of how Andre Russell took on Mohammad Siraj sometime in 2018 or 19. I think
Siraj
this is one of...
Siraj has this pattern of being phenomenal in one IPL and then absolute crap in the next one. So this seems to be the not very good season for him.
He got away last year because of he got some power play wickets, and then he had Prasidh doing rather well. I don't know whether I can't remember him. This year, today he got one. No, he didn't. Today but he did one of them.
Okay.
70 odd. No, they got.
I think the partnership between these two was I think they 70s. Yeah, I think they batted only. They were only in the 9th or 10th over. So as a result, I don't think Siraj bowled after that.
He didn't.
He's got a wicket today, but I think that wicket came just recently now when we were speaking. When KL got out, I think that's when Siraj got his wicket. He's not got a power play wicket, because I heard someone in commentary say that Mohammad Siraj has not got a power play wicket. And one of our slides or match narratives early on is who really looks, slightly wishy-washy. Do they make it to the 11? And that was one of my questions. I'm going to come back to Mohammad Siraj in a bit. For now, it's going to be 80.
Let's finish this Weber issue.
Sure. The question, I think, while we were speaking about Weber, the question was of Yashasvi Jaiswal. The guy has done everything required to show that he's had 3 years of great form. with this power play batting where he's been the aggressor, and the guy is nowhere near India's T20 side. So India is willing to experiment with Shubman Gill coming out of the blue, made vice captain, and somebody like Shreyas Iyer or Rajat Patidar, who are batting the way they are, they don't find a space inside. How is Yashasvi Jaiswal going to feel when all of the attention is going to go to Vaibhav Suryavanshi, and he's nowhere near India's opening T20 setup, despite
India's
performing so
last
well.
3 orange cap holders aren't part of our setup. So that tells you again and again of our batting surplus. So Yashasvi Jaiswal will have to just bide his time, I think. I mean, he's in direct competition, if at all, with an Abhishek. So you never know.
He's still our best red ball opener though, and I don't think he's in much competition for that. Even if he has like 1 or 2 bad years from here, there's nobody banging down the door to take his spot. So he has some security there. And on Vaibhav Suryavanshi,
specifically saying T20, no, in ODIs, sure. If Rohit or Virat are not playing, or I think the last series versus South Africa, Jaiswal did bat. But if you're looking at the T20 format, where he's had like tremendous success, I think that Jaiswal is a lock-in for all formats. But the poor guy is nowhere near your T20 side. He sat out in the 2024 World Cup. Sat out. I mean, he's not nowhere. He played the 2023 series versus Afghanistan and Australia, if I remember right after the 50-over World Cup. But yeah, I bet just not been persistent with after that.
That's got to do with there being too much cricket, right? So you have to have players. I mean, you have to say, okay, who are going to make a test team? Because not like Trinay said, not too many people are lock-ins for our test opening slot, right? Not too many people, right? There's KL Rahul and Yashasvi, and that's it. I can't remember. Every time last 2 series, I think we've experimented with who all did we send on the England tour?
Sai Sudarshan, and I think top order Sai Sudarshan.
There was a reserve opener, right? Wasn't there a reserve opener?
No.
Abhimanyu Ishwaran never played it.
Ishwaran
but he was not part of the squad officially. He was with the India A team. He didn't. No.
Okay.
No, but we must have sent a reserve opener, surely.
Yeah, I think that was Iswaran, right? Wasn't he in the squad?
He was in the squad for Australia, but
the reserves are basically India A.
But I think we opened with what is that? Shubman Gill came at 3 or 4. We always opened with.
He batted at 4 that whole series.
Yeah,
it's been KL and Yashasvi ever since Rohit retired. Before that, it was Rohit and Yashasvi, and in the times when even then once or twice Rahul opened. So I think for the last 3 years, apart from Rohit Sharma, there has been no other test opener apart from these 2. So I think they have been told that you have to handle our test cricket, so give up on other formats. And like I said, I was wrong. I just checked the number. The last 5 Indian orange cap winners are not part of our setup. Which includes Gaikwad, KL Rahul, Sai Sudarshan, Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill. 5 of them are not part of our India setup.
Yeah, to be fair, Virat Kohli is not part of the Indian setup because he retired. Otherwise, he would have been, even now.
That's it. There's a slow over penalty, and 13 of 6 actually now looks possible.
And 23 of because 23 of this last over means serious damage, right?
So
it's been Siraj over. So it's been a back and forth, I think.
At this point, I think
it's been a forgettable series for Gujarat Titans. As a CSK fan, I'm just happy that they're not winning because we need some company at the bottom. CSK and I mean, like somebody with
but I'll tell you. Sorry to put it bluntly, but I've seen the Gujarat Titans, and obviously I follow the team. They've not been destroyed in any game. The 3 games, today if they lose, today's the 3rd game. They literally lost in last over matches, right? They weren't. CSK has been smashed in 35 over games, So that is what is. So that will tell you that GT will eventually end up with unless they're really lucky and keep on doing this like Rajasthan did last year, lose all the last over games. I think they'll end up 6-7, not much below that.
See, GT have 1 or 2 clear weaknesses, which the good teams are exploiting, and which is by close defeats and they're losing, and the top 3 is not performing besides the middle order, and that middle order is what everybody's exploiting. The thing with CSK is we have a grand total of 1 batsman who's making runs, And besides that, our bowlers are shit as it is. So even if we want to, winning a game is going to be pretty tough. Unless, our top three comes off. Sanju is due his 3-game streak, I think. He's bombed the last three, so very good chance he'll make 300s in the next 3 games.
All right, let's close the discussion on Yashasvi, and then what happens? What happens to Yashasvi? Do you think? I mean, what more does he have to do? I mean, he's had, I think, two
it's only a
500
matter
run
of
seasons.
I think it's only a matter of time before he at least gets into the ODI setup. I think I don't see.
But
Rohit
he is the bench. He is the reserve opener for ODIs.
Exactly. So he's going to
He
become a
did get
regular ODI setup once Rohit retires. I don't think there's too much of a doubt about that.
T20s, I think he'll make it in when Sanju goes, right? Sanju's in his 30s. Yashasvi is significantly younger.
But I mean, I think by the time Sanju goes, you'll have you'll probably have a Weber overtaking him.
Right.
No, if Jaiswal has 2 orange caps, as you said, 500, 600 run seasons, then I don't see how they
orange
could.
Caps, but he hasn't got orange caps. He's got close to them, 500 runs plus seasons.
No, he will need the orange cap. He will need the laurels, and maybe winning an
Orange
IPL.
cap hasn't helped Rituraj Gaikwad or Sai Sudarshan. So.
But I think India is batting in a certain format where I think they're just backing people who are able to go, bang bang from the word go, which is why even somebody like KL Rahul, who's been able to score a 92 or 51 balls, wouldn't find mentions because for some reason India, I don't know,
not a 200 run strike.
Sorry, not a 200 run strike rate.
You need the potential of 200 plus, right? Which is what I think is our top 6, top 7. The one other way Yashasvi could get in is at the expense of a Tilak Varma.
Right, batting at 3, and I think
batting at 3 or something like that.
I think India's middle order in T20Is is no, and I think India's middle order in T20Is is actually ripe for some amount of changes. As much as Sky has won a World Cup, if I think he has one more poor series, I think we will try to find another captain. They were willing to find another captain in Shubman Gill. It didn't work out. It made him the vice captain. So I think Sky and Tilak Varma are kind of treading. Tilak Varma found his touch a little closer to the knockout games. He played very well versus Zimbabwe and England. But I think there is
man of the match performance in the Asia Cup buys you 6 months for sure.
Right.
In a final, in a cup final, yeah. I don't think he's going out in a hurry.
I think Tilak has been batting out of position a fair bit. His ideal position number 3, and he's been batting at number 5 and 6 of late.
Wasn't he the ICC number 1 ranked batsman for quite a while in T20s? Like, you can't sack
he was. I'm just saying that sometimes it happens that most of India struggles whenever you're given a black soil pitch. We saw that in Ahmedabad in February. So when India played South Africa. So I think that way we've seen this happen. And on such wickets, I still feel that there are very few batters who get it right for India. India generally struggles as a team. The whole team struggles. And this is where on such wickets, somebody like a Shreyas Iyer or a KL are still like your bank saying, I will still get my 60, 70 runs. But that said, we're discussing only about Jaiswal, and Jaiswal right now doesn't look like there's a space right away being created. But yeah, it will be good to see another big season from Yashasvi Jaiswal where he is in contention as a backup opener because you already have 3 today. Where are we in the match right now? We are 8 of 3 balls.
1-6 does it.
Yeah.
1-6.
A lot of Delhi fans.
David Miller's
see another shot, 6 straight down the ground. That's
Miller time.
I'm still in 9 of 4.
The wounded tiger. What are you? Where are you?
Hemang Badani and Venugopal Rao enjoyed that. 2 of 2. This is insane. And the ball, I think, went above the Gambhir stand.
Yeah.
That's why Steve Bhai is saying Gambhir is full of education.
Oh, is that your joke, Steve Bhai? No, I think he was referring to the batting people out of positions.
Okay. Man, David Miller's 106 meters. But the way these 6 meters are measured, right? It's actually not accurately measured. There is a system operator, and that system operator knows that if it goes to the following tiers, he has to press the following buttons. That's it. So if it's 17 tiers, there's a calculation, and he presses the button. So he's not actually measuring where the ball went.
But honestly, the way okay, so shall we get to this match? Let's go to our, or should we wait for the official result? What if it's a super over?
Wait for the six to be played on my screen.
2 of 2, and I think today 2 of GT's bowlers have hit a 50. There's one Mohammad Siraj and there's Prasidh Krishna. A lot of GT fans are praying. It's good to see another fan base emerging. The DC Toli has been like a pretty loyal fan base going for games. Yeah. Last week when I was in Delhi, they invited me for a screening together in some place in House Cross, but I wasn't able to make it there. Hemang Badani seems a little emotional. Oh, Miller is not going for a single, so that's
so super over. Come on, we can do this.
2 of 1. So I'm sure they will try to prioritize getting the single, because I remember when 2 of 1 balls, we've seen this when I think Dhoni getting out to DJ Bravo, Yuvraj getting out to DJ Bravo.
But that was I think he should have taken that single, because you can trust Kuldeep for 1 of 1 at least, right? Exactly. And if not, at least you got your 1 banked. This was, correct. I think,
I feel like that's
not thought through.
Yeah.
I think so he's taking the pressure on himself. Yeah, he would have realized it. Maybe
99 moment.
Closer 99. Wow, man. But I think there, you kind of, I don't know, man. I still can't imagine how they lost it, especially after the way Klusner hit those 2 boundaries. He just smoked those boundaries of Damien Fleming.
As the commentator said, Donald didn't run. He was ball watching.
Were you born then?
No, I think they still haven't had a discussion of whether they're running the 1 or not, or whatever. They're running to the or they have to run, right? I don't think they have an option.
Are you talking about Klusner and Donald or these two?
No, I'm talking about this game. This game.
He's talking about this game, but I was talking about the Klusner run out back then.
Yeah, same thing. I don't think they had a discussion either back then. So let's see.
Okay, last ball. Short ball, he missed it, and they will get run out. It's gone. So they won it by 1 run.
There you go. Tactically mistake.
DC, I think, will now. I think they will be.
This is the second game.
No. Karthik, we lose our company at the bottom.
Yeah, man, we lose our company at the bottom. That's the first thought that came, and then I was like, okay, let's act neutral.
But that is ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. He had this game. Miller fucked it up.
Sometimes I think
ironically,
batters.
Klusner South African and so is Miller. Both of them are South Africans.
What is it with South Africans and messing up chases? But I think this was you wouldn't call this choking technically. I think it's just one bad subpar decision at the last ball. Wait, the umpires are talking about something. I don't know what happened. Is that I think Miller is asking if it was a no ball because it was up, around your chest height, and DC fans are suddenly seeing light at the end of the tunnel, where they're also checking if there was a no ball for height.
I can give you guys. Wow. I can give you guys live commentary as it plays. It still hasn't come on my screen.
It was barely above the shoulder.
But this would have been the first bouncer for the over. I still think.
No, it's a second.
That way, second?
Yeah, it was the first one.
Yeah. No, he tried. No, the previous ball where he refused the single, the pull shot, that was a bouncer for sure. He received it here. I just said that was definitely a bouncer.
Wait, they're putting the DRS right now. I'm seeing the side view of David Miller, and it was. I think it's reasonably okay. It was not something very high. It went through his ear. It is above shoulder technically, and Miller is actually jumping. Miller is jumping, so he's actually not on the popping crease. He is maybe 3 centimeters or 4 centimeters above. So it might, if it's not the first bouncer, I haven't been following the last over completely because it's on my side. If it's the first bouncer, then it's going to be allowed.
No, but it's a wide not given. It's not a second no ball. Wide is above height.
I think they're asking for the no ball because it's a second bouncer of the over.
The review saying
wide
not given. I think Gill is laughing. Looks like GT have it in the bank.
That's not a wide for sure.
That's not a wide. That's a tactically poor game from somebody who's played 14 IPL seasons. So I have to put that to David
I think it looks
Miller's.
okay. Head is 1.87, shoulder 1.75. I think it's in between. So if it's above shoulder, it is above shoulder, right? It is 18
Yeah, but
centimeters above your shoulder.
But it's a wide.
it
It's
has
a
to be
review for a
above.
wide. It's a review for a wide. Wide is above
That's
head.
it. Not given. Not given. We're good to go. And DC has lost this game by 1 run.
Oh, damn it.
All
And
right
that's
then.
completely on Miller.
Kagiso Rabada, consoling David Miller.
The
Great
previous
game.
ball, the penultimate ball was a tactical mistake. That single should have been taken.
Yeah.
No second. Like you tie the game
Yeah,
and you have to.
So, which was, I think, if we put this decision versus the Lance Klusener Alan Donald decision, back for nostalgia, I basically try to, when I look at this, I somehow felt that David Miller had the opportunity. Should batters start trusting tailenders, especially if tailenders can hold, because if the game had gone to the super over, they wouldn't have been in this situation.
Yeah,
I think
and
it puts
Kuldeep
too much
Yadav,
pressure.
I agree with what Nirav said. You can trust Kuldeep Yadav to take one run off one ball. He's
No,
not a complete.
irrespective, you take the you tie the game first.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what was Kuldeep Yadav not? Why there was he had to get there. So how was he late on this? Anyway,
And
that's
also in
Kuldeep
terms of
Yadav's athletic ability.
dive, that was one of the worst dives I've seen from a batter because he started the dive after he'd already got run out.
Wait, did Kuldeep not start early? Because
I think
it
he
looked
did.
like he was okay.
He might have.
Oh, you're just so much looking at the striker that you're not looking at the non-striker. So unfortunate, and that's where DC lose this by 1 run. Quite
So
a close game. So yet another KL 80-90 and them losing, because KL's been in this situation where he's scored these nice knocks, batted almost till the 18th, 19th over, and then their team loses. I've seen that happening with Kings 11 Punjab. But that brings to me another facet while they chase today. Rashid Khan, is he back to form? Or where were we? Yeah. Did you see the way Rashid bowled today? What were your thoughts on Rashid Khan?
I feel like
Because I
don't
thought he
know
had a
if
very difficult 2025, right? Because his average at that point was 57.11. And in 26 post, I think he had a surgery, a back surgery of sort. And, I
Twice.
somehow feel that
End of 23
his,
IPL and end of 24 IPL. Both
24
years.
IPL, okay. So he had
Both
like
years,
this
both
quicker leg break, which is usually tough for batters to pick him off the pitch. And I think that is back. I've not been able to look at all his deliveries, but that's something that because that, like the Shane Warne had the Zooter or the one that came faster. I'm seeing traditional balls that bowlers bowl, and if they are back in that zone, you kind of feel that okay, this is Rashid of the old. But yeah, it's just interesting that teams are now not looking to just play him out. And last year he was taken for runs.
I think that finished probably in
Impact
2020,
player,
right? Yeah.
No, that finished with the introduction of the impact player, didn't it? The
2023
playing out bowlers. Yeah, he was really good until then, and then I feel when he joined GT, he had one good year. But then after that, they started using him after the 10th over more as a defensive bowler, early death bowler, and he didn't have an opportunity to break in, take wickets early on, which was he used to be really good at it at Hyderabad. And then, as we saw, he had the surgery and he went for a lot of runs last year. And there was one ball particularly this game to KL Rahul, where, as Karthik said, he bowled this amazing leg spinner, which pitched on leg and then spun outside off, which it signified that he is back in form. And then his ball to Samir Rizvi, he took 2 wickets and 2 balls, which tore open the game for Gujarat. He took Nitish Rana as well later on or earlier, and then Samir Rizvi, who's been in really good form. And that is what you want your lead leg spinner to do, right? I mean, this happened in the 2000s for Test cricket. Your leg spinner was the one who gives you breakthroughs when you need them the most. And yeah, that's what he's done for them.
Rashid isn't a traditional leg spinner, because Rashid is somebody who, is like the mystery bowler who comes on. He has a leg spinner, but is largely somebody who bowls the ball straight and at the same time gets a good
He's basically a really fast leg, what's it called? Leg cutter bowler, basically.
Leg cutter bowler, yes. That's his
No,
action.
a
His
traditional leg
action is
spinner in the sense that you turn to him for wickets. He will get you a wicket if you need it, even though he might go for runs. In that sense.
Oh yes, I think Rashid Khan, if you look at his overall strike rate, right? To me, he is the gold standard because Rashid Khan used to operate at about 15 or 16 strike rate. In his SRH years, I think he was averaging between 16.5 and 18, 19 till 2021. That was, and he used to always have a 18 wicket IPL season. Maybe people never used to take risk of him, but in 2023, that particular season when GT went to the final, and the year before, he had like 19 and 27 wickets, Rashid Khan, and it came at a pretty interesting strike rate of 20 in 22 and about 15.5 in 2023. But after that, and I think the impact player was introduced in 23. In 24 was probably where I think his fortunes went. He only had a 10 wicket season, and he took 1 wicket in that 4 over spell, which is a strike rate of 24. That doubled last year, 48 strike rate, 9 wickets. So I think there is a decline, and it's still early days in this season, but it looks like he's getting there. But I mean, that's just a mathematical way to evaluate and then looking at one of his deliveries. But today was a great spell. 4 overs, 3 for 17. That's basically a strike rate of a wicket every 8 balls. So I mean, I'm just looking at that stat, looking at his earlier stats, and just trying to triangulate something.
Yeah.
But did
So
you guys catch anything?
To reconfirm with what you said, I'm looking at his stats. From 2017 onwards, number of wickets per year, 17, 21, 17, 20, 18, 19, 27. this 27 was in the 2023 year where they also made the final, right? GT.
Right.
That year at 27, he still didn't get the orange cap, by the way. I think that
Purple
was
cap.
purple cap. Sorry,
that
it was
Mohit?
with Mohammad Shami, Mohit, and Rashid had 27 each. But Shami had the best average, I think. So he got that. But subsequently, it's been 10-9, and this year now it's substantially improved because it's 5 of 3 games. So
Right.
at an average of 17, economy at 7.08, which matches his career's economy.
So he's actually had an economy rate of sub 7 for most of his IPL career, or like just about 7.
Yes, because it's only from 23
It's basically 23
onwards.
onwards.
Till then, he had probably a sub 6.5 average.
Economy rate.
Economy.
Yeah. He was someone that nobody could hit, and he would also take wickets. So he was basically the perfect T20 bowler.
So he was a 2 for 30 at worst kind of a bowler for most of his career. On a bad day.
Yes, I think it looks like Rashid Khan is back to form. I can feel it in the way he was celebrating today, and also some of the balls.
I mentioned I think in our first podcast that for GT to be in consideration, it'll have to be Joss Butler and Rashid Khan at the peak of their powers. Because see, you'll get the 500-run season from Shubman and from Said. It's your bowling is question mark because I don't know if Prasidh is ever going to have that kind of a season again, right? Siraj is like Shamak mentioned, blow hot, blow cold. So it boils down to Rashid enforcing and then Joss Butler being the other damage player, right?
I think the thing with GT, which made them successful for the last few seasons, is that they've generally had a pretty good bowling lineup, and then you could always trust the top 3 to score whatever runs had to be scored. I think this year the big problem with them, again, I'm not too worried about Shubman and Sai scoring runs. As you said, they'll score those 450, 500 odd runs. For me, the big issue with GT this year is that their bowling does not stack up at all. You take Rashid out and just look at today. You have Siraj and Prasidh, who in any case tend to go for runs, and even this guy, the new Ashok. He's fast, but I don't see anything else outside of pace. And at this level, players can very easily handle pace. So I don't see their bowling stacking up unless someone has some really great form. So I think for GT, that is the main issue in my head.
I think Prasidh Krishna for the new ball, Jason Holder coming in for Rabada might be a good option. Might be, never know. Because Rabada also has that 50-50 thing, right? Some good days, some bad days, and it's usually polar, right? Some days it's a 2 for 30, and some days it's not for 50. So,
but how much would Jason Holder's batting account for? Like, if you're bringing him in. I don't think he's that good for batsman. I don't think you
I
need him.
think he's a very good finisher. He's a very good finisher. And GT needs that finisher.
But at
they struggled today also. They got less than 50 of the last 5. So according to me, this was a 230 power minimum. Because when Josh Butler was batting, it was looking 250. He was hitting it comfortably. Ball was coming on smoothly. He was just swinging through the line and, sweetly timing the ball for 90 meters.
I think one of our talking points is about Shubman Gill's innings today. I think.
Yeah. I was just about to come to that, but I'm just the point that Nirav just made. They scored 42 for 2 in their final 5 overs, and I think that to me generally 42 for 2, 100 for 1 in your middle overs, and then 68 for 1 in the power play. So DC were 5 runs behind.
49.
68, 168 plus 42. How much did they finally score? 210, right?
So it was the last 2 overs of 12, 13, 3, 14, and 7. So it was 161. 161 went to 210. 49. And how good was Lungi Agidi, man? 24 of 4 overs. Like, come on.
Yeah, he went at 6. How often do we see that anymore?
No, I think
he's flying under the radar these days.
He's in fact, somebody did call him out, right? That people are training. In fact, during the World Cup, people were training on how to play Lungi Nigidi's, slower ones. It is something that is, coming for discussion. And
our favorite commenter thought he's a fraud.
Who, Lungi?
But Steve Bhai,
somebody was able to bowl.
Didn't he call him a fraud in one of our podcasts?
Yeah, he did. He did.
My comments
Ingidi
got 11 dot balls,
with the slower balls, with the cutters and the slower balls, and it's basically Bravo on steroids because he's a lot bigger, he's a lot stronger, and he can put a lot more revs on the ball, like what Fizz did, but he won't get injured like Fizz did. So it's basically a nightmare for batsmen. I mean, like Shamak said, any batsman can play 155. Ashok Sharma coming in and bowling. I'm not sure everybody can play Ngidi slow balls because I'm not sure how many people can pick it, even at this level. So we can go back to Gill.
Yeah, to Gill, he was 29 of 23. And this is getting back to the same argument that people had against Virat Kohli, where you're able to bat 20, 30 balls, build an innings, feel good. Then you're able to pick your bowler and then accelerate at the end. So while Gill was 29 of 23, I'm just trying to see how many did he score of his. Did he catch up? He made 70 of 45, right? So that's essentially him scoring 41 of 22 balls to catch up, to score 70 of 45. I kind of felt that if, let's say, you're taking that much time, there's a lot of momentum that, goes away. And in fact, GT haven't had a very good last 10 overs. So it means that Gill has accelerated, but the other people around Gill have not. This is probably
it wasn't nearly enough. And the thing is, we've seen in the past with Shubman Gill that he, like Virat Kohli, generally, if he does bat for 20-25 balls, he does make up for it at the end. Like, he's one of the most effortless six hitters we have at least in the Indian cricket team right now. Today, he didn't get that. So today, it was one of those nightmare scenarios where he's taken up balls, he's batted a long innings, 45 odd balls, and he still hasn't scored. Like, you would expect at the end of an innings like today, he'd have scored like 95, 100. And so that I feel like he didn't. Getting slow off the blocks is fine for the kind of player that Gill is, but not making up for it later on is, I think, a cardinal sin, which is what he made today.
So, but 20.5 runs.
He starts slow and then he tries to catch up, but he's gone so slow that he's unable to, or he doesn't, or he gets out like Gill did. I feel if Gill batted for another 10 to 20 balls, I don't think we'd be talking about this. I feel he would have made up at the end, but then he got out.
So then, but as things stand, I mean, I'm calling it 20 under par, and that's pretty much 20 under par for Gill, because at 45 balls he should have been 90, right? That's what we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Roughly, see, how much was their strike rate? I mean, their run rate was 10.5. That means 10.5 by 6 is 175 strike rate.
It slowed down. It hit 11 at 14 overs. So
Gill's final strike rate was 150, which is below par.
155.
155.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. For a 175, he's been batting 20 points below, and one is expected to accelerate much higher than your average strike rate if you batted that many number of balls. So I think that's probably one observation that all of us had, that okay, Shubman Gill, was he really slow off the blocks? That's one narrative point that we had. Quickly moving on to the other narrative point. It's a question that Trinay had actually put earlier in the week, where we were talking about. Trinay, I know you've typed this, but as a mistake, but it is GT's middle order against spin, and you felt that, hey man, this is not a very strong middle order against spin because Sundar or Shahrukh or Tewatia have a 100 or thereabouts strike rate against spin, which is really choking in the middle overs. And Glenn Phillips is about 130 or so. But today we saw Washington Sundar do very well, play the middle overs. I kind of felt that Vipraj Nigam was tending to bowl a little shorter than required. I think
He
all of
bowled
the
two
six,
short
four, and
balls and a
six.
full toss in one over, and he went
Correct.
for
And
23.
the full toss was to Gill. I think he
Yeah.
bowled three short balls in a row, and the shot was all towards Cow Corner, with, of course, a reference to our podcast, the Cow Corner dugout. And that's just the way I think Vipraj Nigam started his first over, started that particular over. But I just felt that they gave him some easy balls, but he was able to get off the blocks. That brings the other question to us: Washington Sundar, has he not been used correctly in some of the other teams that he's batted? Is he finding his right position here?
When has he ever been used correctly? I mean, for India, he was a floater in both the Test team and the white ball team. I think he bats in the top order for Tamil Nadu. His TNPL team, I mean, he bats where he wants to, but that's not as high level as the IPL. And I think for RPS, he was like a finisher kind of batsman. So most people buy him for his bowling, and here he is in a very sticky situation where he's seen as the pseudo all-rounder who's good enough to do both, but hasn't done enough of either one.
Dude, you call him pseudo. I think I think Washington Sundar gets into a side on the basis of him being a bowler and a batter. If you remember right, in the 2020 IPL and around that time, RCB used him primarily for his ability to bowl spin in the power play. He was a 4 overs, no maiden, 10 runs, no wicket kind of a bowler. And whenever you have left-handed openers, it's a natural spin angle. So Washi is worth his weight in gold, especially when you are looking at making that a 16, 17 over game, because Washi is giving you 2, 3 very quiet overs up front, and that's how he's been used for a long time in the IPL. But coming to his batting ability, yes, as you said, largely a floater, and sometimes I don't know why, but because of the depth of batting that is there in SRH, he sometimes just bats at 7 or 8, and sometimes I don't know if that's his right position.
I think for both RCB and SRH, I don't think he played enough games, because I remember there was this one year, I can't remember which year it was. There was a stat that he had played in that calendar year. He had played 14 games for India and 2 games for SRH.
I think that was with GT only, a couple of seasons ago.
No, it wasn't. It was when he was with SRH. He was with SRH right before GT.
Yeah.
So it would have been the 23 or 24. One of those years, he was playing pretty much every game for India T20. So it would have been probably 23 then, because he wasn't part of our T20 squad in the World Cup. So maybe 22, 23, 24, one of those years. And even I think RCB also did not use him. And then there was some talk when he was in SRH that the impact player rule has made him suffer because he's not a complete one way or he's not a bank as a bowler or as a batter. But having said that, right from the start of his career in IPL, which I would imagine would be at least 10, 12, 10, 11 years.
17, yeah.
16, 17, at least 10 odd years. I don't think he's played like even 10 games a season. Forget, we can check this.
I think just once for RCB he played 15 games, and for RPS he debuted in 2017. He played 11 games there, but otherwise you're right. He's not played more than 7 games.
Which is
9 games in 22.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically
so 2024 is the year which he didn't play.
Yeah.
Which he played 2 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think even last year, I think there was this thing with GT where it was him and Arshad Khan as the floating number 7. Where they needed a spinner, the sixth bowling option would be off spinner, then they would go for him, or it would be Arshad. So, I mean, it's the matchups thing all over again, right? So if there are more lefties in the opposition, play Washi. If there are more righties, play the left arm fast. So I think that's the other. But I think this year probably he's got a settled role, and I think him and Glenn Phillips have, by the looks of things, have gotten a mandate. Like, you are going to be our Hardik and Miller of our winning era at 4 and 5.
I think the issue with Washi that I've felt for a while now is that his batting is better suited for Test cricket, but his bowling is completely suited for limited overs. So he's kind of in this limbo where he needs to. I think he needs to just add a little bit of power to his game. If he can up his strike rate by 5-10 points, he probably becomes a very valuable middle order player.
Today he didn't do badly, right?
He did well.
He was good, yeah.
He did well.
I mean, his 2 seasons with GT, 25 and 26, he's striking above 150.
But we've also seen that these are the seasons where players, where teams have been scoring well over 200. So I don't think a 150 strike rate is just about par.
Yeah,
exactly.
So he should be at 180. Yeah, 165 and 180. Yeah.
So I don't.
He's a Jadeja style batsman. Actually, they're actually somewhat similar. And bowling wise, I feel it works in tests and T20s. But the batting, he needs to, as you said, up his power game.
Right. But today, I think I saw the way he pulled, and I kind of liked what I saw. Though these were, hit me balls bowled by Vipraj Nigam. But it's so good to see Washi get that exposure. And for me, as a Tamil Nadu person, I'm just very happy to see Washi get that, because it's almost 9 years in the IPL. And having played after 9 years, it's his first 50. And just, I think, towards the end of last year, right, he had that knock with Jadeja batting at 7. He was able to score those runs, save a test match. Almost saved the test match at MCG last year. I was there watching that game in BGT. So I think it's a good time for Washi to get back and make a case. He's now at least seen as somebody who's in the Indian squad. So I'm just hoping that
Test cricket.
his role.
He's completely fallen off. I mean,
sometimes
he's been around in the India scheme of things at T20 level since at least. I mean, I remember that that famous DK match. He was bowling for us, right? In the Midhas Trophy. That's 2018, if I'm not wrong.
2017. He made his ODI and T20 debut in 2017.
So that's like, he's now 26, so he must have made it at 18 or 19.
Yeah.
So he's still got youth on his side, and he's got potentially a 10-year career for India as a premium all-rounder. So the fact that, with Jadeja on his way out and the age factor, you've got an Akshar coming in and Washi to follow that. Our middle order floater quality batter. Washington Sundar is a quality batter. We've seen him in Test match cricket deliver at the highest level. Is his bowling up to scratch? Yes and no. There was a series where he outbowled Ashwin last year against New Zealand very clearly.
That was one match though. That was just the one figures, and then after that, I think Ashwin and Jadeja.
But yeah, so it's not enough sample size for his bowling.
Those were ragging wickets. I mean, Santner and Ajas took wickets. It's a toss up there, man. It's a little bit harsh on Ashwin, I think. He's a test quality player without a doubt. But yeah, he's had to compete with these.
But was he ready to replace Ashwin? I probably did not feel. I think with whatever team dynamics, Ashwin decided to opt out. But I thought at a test level, especially in a place like Australia, I was looking forward to see Ravichandran Ashwin bowl in Melbourne. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And Washington Sundar played a very good hand in Melbourne along with Nitish Reddy. But I think at a test level, he's still more a holding bowler. I haven't seen him really attack or pick wickets apart from in India. But I'm just getting the feeling that as a player, that's his time. He's now starting to get the exposure in all of the formats. This 50 would definitely, get the attention that, okay, Washington Sundar can be tried out in a different role.
So do you think 4 is good for him?
I think this current lineup 4 is good for him, and sometimes in a India batting setup with too many left-handers, we may not want another left-hander there. But that's a very India
in T20 cricket or in Test?
In T20 cricket.
I don't think he fits in the T20 setup currently, because I think there is a role for 2 spinners usually, and I think India's pattern is one mystery spinner, Ashwin or Kuldeep, and one Akshar Patel. And I think that is so until he overtakes Akshar Patel in that bank 4 overs and middle order floater, who most days does the job. 25 or 15 is what the job is at that level.
Yep.
See, with him and Akshar, there's not too much between them in batting. I feel Akshar is slightly smarter than him because of the experience. I think bowling wise, there's a lot between them though. Like Akshar, he seems to have a lot more options at his disposal.
I I think Akshar has really worked on his power game. The same thing that I've said that Washington needs to work on. Akshar has done that. Like we can at this point we know that Akshar is capable of scoring, a 20 ball 45 if and when it's required. I don't know that Washington can do that consistently.
I mean, he'll need a Vipraj Nigam over to do that. That's
exactly.
But yeah, I think Washington Sundar hasn't bowled as much as Akshar. He's been getting more opportunities to bat. I think today he just bowled one over, and he was played for about 7-8 runs, or I think a little more than that, 10 runs.
No, more than that. Yeah, I think he didn't come back because he leaked a lot of runs. Didn't he?
10 runs? How much?
11 in
11.
No, don't all-rounders develop later than a specialist because they have two roles to develop or to mature in. So Akshar is basically what you want to see Awashi being in another 3, 4, 5 years maybe.
Fair enough. I think he'll get there. I think the ability is there. The space between the ears is fairly good by what I've seen so far. Productive and efficient. So I think given that, I think he'll make it. Because you need that good brain also to be figuring out your weak areas. And I think Akshar's brain works overtime figuring out what he can't do. Right? And Washi's fielding is also improving, which is a nice thing.
Same thing with Akshar. We saw him in Australia in 2015, Dhoni's last test series, 2014, 2015. And he wasn't a mainstay in the Indian side until, pretty recently. We can assume it's a similar thing for Washi.
It's a fair comparison in terms of how people mature. They have this first tour where they have the odd opportunity, then they see other tours go by, not selected for one, and then you're back after 8-9 years of international cricket where you find your mojo in a series or so. But that's with Washington Sundar, and our next narrative point is DC's middle order. I mean, top and middle order. If you had to go change something there in that middle order, I know Samir Rizvi's come off like a very good form. He's got a couple of very interesting knocks. He's won it for Delhi Capitals. But Nitish Rana there, given the talent that is sitting outside Delhi Capitals, does Nitish Rana still command a place in their top three? Are there any other changes that you want to do in this batting lineup?
Nitish Rana has done well in the Syed Mushtaq Ali. He's been in decent form. He's also got a very decent IPL career. So I would maybe persist with him for another game or two. But there are a bunch of players who could replace him. For me, his name isn't there over here. But Vipraj Nigam, I don't think he necessarily plays as much of a role with the ball. And with the bat, I'd much rather see Ashutosh Sharma in the side. So for me, that is more than Nitish Rana at this point. I would be looking at Vipraj Nigam and replacing him with Ashutosh Sharma.
So there are two things to that. One is
could come in, couldn't he? Abhishek's much better than Nitish Rana, and he can whack both pace and spin. So wouldn't you rather have him at 3? And they have been backing him for like a year or two. He played pretty well last year. He opened for a bit after Fraser McGlure class form, and he also batted at 3. He did pretty well in both spots. Wouldn't you say so?
No, it's a fair thing. I remember Abhishek Porel batting in 23-24, and he was like somebody that they tried out. And he always had this 20 of 8 balls kind of innings that he played. Never played a big innings, but he always got those starts. Interestingly, being having played fantasy on Dream 11, to me Nitish Rana was always like a very binary choice. He had a season where he'd score 85 or 0. So the day you make him as a fantasy captain, you'll have to just hope that he scores 80 that day, because he was alternating 80s and 0s when he was playing for KKR. And but that's just me making Nitish Rana for fantasy memories. But yes, the comments also coming are saying that drop Vipraj, play Ashutosh, echoing what was just said right now. But I thought Vipraj Nigam is a fairly crafty customer. He's able to give you some amount of leg spin, and he's able to also score those runs, especially when you're batting in the tail and towards the end. He's a pretty feisty hitter. And today also, I think he scored a couple of boundaries. I had taken the screen grab a little early into the, into us before the game finished. And that's why it doesn't feature Vipraj Nigam. But that's one opinion that's coming our way, saying that, should we have Ashutosh instead of Vipraj?
So on the Nitish Rana factor, so you have to start by saying that Delhi Capitals management seems to know what they're doing, by and large, right? So in those circumstances, given what Shamak said, he's coming out a good run of scores. Syed Mushtaq Ali, and before that the Delhi Premier League. I think he took his team as captain to the victory, whichever the team it was, West Delhi, East Delhi, whatever it was. But so therefore he's in form. And you know what the old adage is, that he hasn't batted too many. I mean, he's been getting out in 3 or 4 balls. So we don't know whether he's in out of runs or out of form, right? So it's one of those things where we haven't seen enough of him to know that he's struggling, right? He is a capable enough player, and obviously he's doing well in the nets, right? So everybody gets the same amount of nets, and the team management makes a choice on saying that, okay, based on what I'm seeing in the nets, this guy seems to be the best bet. So I agree with Shamak that I think that deserves a 4-5 match rope. And the fact is that everybody goes through that. And last year, I think also Jake McGurk went through it. Like, he's looking good, not scoring runs. And then you have to back him till a point where, because otherwise you're dropping him and that's the end of his season, and you're not going to, he's too good a player for you not to consider him, right? You need to shepherd him into being able to come good, because I think when he comes good, he's probably more effective over a season than a Abhishek Porel or somebody like that, right?
Right. I think there's some noise coming. Okay, you just check your
I think that's from
thing. Trinay? Yeah.
Trinay, I think I've just muted. So the only other bank top quality batter they have
Karun Nair?
Is Karun Nair. Shaw is only an opener.
Porel option.
Abhishek Porel for me doesn't fit into this team because you're right, he's a 20 of 8 ball player, which is okay when you're opening. I don't think your number 3 can be doing that, right? You have to be able to, push comes to shove, play that long innings. I don't have the opinion that Abhishek Porel can ever get 100 in, So I think your number 3 batter, I feel, should have the prospect of being able to get 100 or 40, 45 balls. So don't play a number 3 who you on peak potential, on ceiling, cannot get to that point. So which is why I would say Nitish Rana, yes. His ceiling is, we've seen him do that 85 of 35 balls.
Yeah.
So very Suresh Raina-esque in that sense. I mean, a poor man Suresh Raina, let's put it that way. The fact is that the only way you can get Ashutosh into this team is if Nitish Rana plays. I'll tell you why. Because you need that 6th bowling potential option, right? Vipraj Rigam is that. He's your 6th bowling option. And today, if you just go back and see the last ball of his spell, I know he went for 23, but that last ball would beat any top order player.
I saw that. It was short of length,
turned. So if he can just bowl 4 of those every over, and honestly, in the last game he did that. He bowled 3 overs, including 1 in the power play, and he went for, I think he got 1 for 24 in the last. So on a 200 run score, if you're going 1 for 24 of 3 against the chase which they choked, right? That one against RR. So in a situation like that, so he'll have his good days, he'll have his bad days, but the only other way to do it is bump everybody up one spot and then bring, take Nitish Rana out and bring Ashutosh at the back. Everybody gets one, because Ashutosh also can score 100 or 40 balls. So would you want to,
That was the other question I wanted to ask, because we've seen Ashutosh primarily bat at 6-7 and finish games for Delhi Capitals, and he's played, I think, at slightly similar positions at 5 for the previous season for, I think, was it Punjab? Where he and Shashank used to finish games. Ashutosh is potentially somebody who maybe bats a touch higher in domestic cricket. So are you kind of denying him by slotting him only as a finisher? So that was the other question that I had to see. What were your potential options if Nitish Rana is, let's say, having one more bat?
The nice thing is that I think Samir Rizvi, if they bump him up to number 3, right, your 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is then floatable, like flexible. Because each of those guys can come in at 4 and come in at 8, which means a Tristan Stubbs, which means a Akshar Patel, which means a Ashutosh, which means a David Miller, right? All of them are capable of scoring runs at 4. So you then decide when you want them in. You have them all padded up. And, okay, go. depending on whether you need a left-handed batter, whether you need a strike rotator, you need a power hitter, you need a spin basher, all those options open up.
Right.
And I think the fact is that all four of these are fairly good against pace and spin. So, you have in this mix, you have two lefties, two righties. That makes a very good 4, 5, 6, 7. And with their kind of bowling stock which they have currently, if they just sort out who bowls which over when, I think they've got a good thing going. Because today I think they maybe held on to Kuldeep a bit too late, which is why Kuldeep's last over went for a few runs. But that one swap between a Kuldeep and a Natarajan over, whenever it was, Natarajan bowled the 13th and Kuldeep bowled the 16th. If it was the other way around, you would have seen this under 200 score.
Right.
So these are small tactical things, I feel. I mean, again, this is all hindsight and, watching it from outside. But you have to give. So with certain teams, I don't know what they're thinking. But I think with Delhi, I'm quite confident that they're thinking well. So I think that there must have been a good enough reason at that point. It just didn't pan out the way they wanted. So, as compared to, like, let's say what we discussed a couple of nights ago, what was KKR thinking, right? Which makes no sense to anyone. So those are things which...
And the final point I had, again, with reference to the same image, I know you guys might shoot me down right away, but the point I have is also with a little bit of math involved here, is KL Rahul. Now, KL Rahul is coming on the back of 2 IPL seasons where he scored 500 plus runs batting at number 4 for Delhi Capitals. And I think the previous season for Lucknow. So while KL is in this kind of form, he is scoring.
Last year, he wasn't entirely at number 4. He went up 1 by 1. And he ended the season as an opener.
Okay. So then it has all the...
Because they had 2 designated openers and then 2 of them failed. So eventually they said, Rahul is best off opening, which also allowed the Samir Rizvi eventually to come into the team, because they literally moved everybody up one at a time.
So KL Rahul in 24 had 520 runs, 37 average, 136 strike rate. 25, 612 runs, 43 average, 138 strike rate. Now this IPL he's been striking at 141 and he's averaging 48. So I'm seeing a steady increase of 5 runs increase in average and a 2-3 basis point increase in his strike rate. Now, this then gets to the point of, if you want somebody who's an accumulator and is striking at this much, given that you have 5 other batters striking at 200, would you want to look at a backup opener for India where your choices are between KL Rahul, Ruturaj Gaikwad and somebody like a Sai Sudarshan, potentially as the accumulator opener, or Shubman Gill, who will give you a bank of 40-45 runs as an average, which is a fairly high average for a T20, but bat at 140, which is what Virat Kohli used to potentially do. So do you think we have that? Is that something that, as a T20 side, you just want to have one slot for the accumulator opener in the squad and then decide how the T20 strategy is, or is it just slam bang for now?
I think the last couple of years of Indian T20 cricket has proven that you don't need accumulators.
We just spoke about how Jaiswal was not getting into the team, how there's a chance he's probably never going to get a solid role as a T20 opener. And I don't see how these guys are going to get in. Ruturaj might be a 4th or 5th backup opener or a backup batter in the squad. I don't see how any of them make it. Rahul especially, no chance after all the World Cup fiascos. Rahul, I don't think he'll make it anywhere near the squad.
And by the way, Virat Kohli, as much as we speak about him, he is averaging 58.2 if you look at his 3-year average and striking at 152. Virat, he doesn't get a slot in this T20 side. I know he retired, but Virat Kohli, had to make way for the next generation. But Virat Kohli is striking at 152 and 58. So my sense is KL, while he's doing very well, I still think he has to do a little bit more to really challenge the status quo to say, okay, do we need a bank type opener also in our mix? With Virat Kohli striking at 58, Jaiswal striking at 41.
I think in the current scheme of things, if they ever consider that safety net opener, I think they will bring in Shubman Gill ahead of KL Rahul. I think Indian cricket has moved well. I mean, KL Rahul can have a 900 run season, he's not making it back.
No, which is fair. I'm just looking at that 1% possibility of what is the narrative here. Because KL is trying to open, what is KL thinking in his mind? I know the world has moved on from KL Rahul, But what is KL thinking? Like, what is really required? Is there a possibility that Gautam Gambhir is like, okay, I think we lost 5 games in this cycle because we just couldn't bat out, let's say, games in Melbourne or some other place where India just got bowled out in Ahmedabad. So if we have one opener who is the accumulator, then it gives us leverage for those games. So Abhishek Sharma is 35 and 195. So do you want somebody who is 55 and 160? Or I think that's probably how I'm thinking about it, in just in case India wants to rethink its T20 strategy. But yeah, because KL Rahul played that knock, that was the question that I had. But what do you guys think?
Okay, look at it differently. Does KL Rahul even care that much? He's in his mid 30s. He is going to be India's test opener for the next couple of years, and as long as he wants to. I mean, as I said, same case for Jaiswal. There's no competition for him unless Suryavanshi mysteriously becomes really good at red ball, which he's not as of now. And he is India. He's probably the figurehead of that Indian middle order. He's locked in at number 5, number 6 ever since the 2023 World Cup. He's been really good there. He's in his mid 30s.
No,
He
it
might
is
start
fair.
thinking of
I'm saying even if he's mid 30s, right? Somebody like Ashish Nehra in his late 30s got a recall. Everybody's hungry for success. Everybody's hungry for that India cap once again. So I don't think that is going to stop.
To counter your Ashish Nehra example, Ashish Nehra came back in only one format, right?
Correct.
So KL Rahul is already playing in 2. He's a certainty in 2.
Right.
Maybe post the 27 World Cup, we might say, okay, let's find another middle order number 5 wicket-keeper bat. But at this point, we're not. I mean, his successor, if at all, is a Dhruv Jurel, right? In the one-day setup at number 5, right? Quality, stylish batter, not a or rather consistent batter who will give you good averages, because that's what at a competent enough strike rate. So I don't think KL Rahul has aspirations in the IPL to make it to the Indian T20 team. I doubt it. I think if at all he has aspirations is to win an IPL trophy, because he's been 1 season or 2 seasons away from that in every team he's played. Right? He joined, one team and then they won it 1 year later, or had won it the previous year. So it's been like that. And also with Lucknow and with Punjab, he never. I mean, he tried. He came close, but not good enough. So I think the number one thing for him is wanting to win an IPL trophy, because it's one of those mysterious cases. He's never been part of an IPL winning team.
He's also probably looking at the Test Match and the World Cup next year, which are probably a little ahead on his mind, because again, he's getting on in the years. He's probably going to play one more Test Championship.
He's 33, dude. He's a fit 33-year-old. He's got 5 years ahead of him.
Team. It's the Indian team. If 36, he could
5
be
years.
out. I mean,
He could
Rohit
win,
Sharma
depending on if he
should-
lost.
I know
Rohit
you're
Sharma
18, but you should look at ages a little less this thing.
7. Rohit Sharma becomes
33 is-
39 this April.
Yeah, so
how many
definitely
Rohit Sharmas have we had in
World
the
Cup.
history of Indian cricket? Come on.
No, but KL Rahul has always been a fitter version, and I mean,
Considerably.
push come to shove, I'd say equally talented to watch on to play, and the time he has and the way he looks while batting. He just hasn't delivered as much as his potential, I think. But Rohit Sharma also started delivering post 30.
Yeah.
His test match scores, like started coming in at.
I'm not talking about retirements. I'm talking about somebody better coming and replacing him, like you said about Dhruv Jurel, or who knows, some red ball.
I don't think that's. I don't. So injuries or career-threatening injuries aside, I think he's stable for another 3 to 4 years in all formats that he plays. Then it's up to him and his desire. No? Right. It's how much the Rohit Sharma is carrying on at this age, because there is a hunger, right? There is something he wants. I mean, which is probably a World Cup, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some things pinch you, man.
Right. Some things do pinch you as a cricketer in terms of achievement. And I remember Saurabh Ganguly once speaking, and I think Neeraj, it was something that happened on your show only some time back, when Saurabh Ganguly on Breakfast with Champions had mentioned that there's whatever you say, at the end of the day, the applause of the crowd will always stay with you, and you can be whatever you want in terms of administration, but nothing will unrival the energy of the crowd cheering for you. So I remember that comment by Saurabh Ganguly. And yes, it is a very special feeling to be playing for the nation and also trying to win a game for the nation. It hits differently. But on that note, we've covered five.
Generation especially. I don't think
Which one?
it hit. I think for this generation, I think the pride of playing for your country and winning a World Cup, I think is still higher than it is for the guys coming in. Because
Yeah,
it's not come so easy for the for KL Rahul
right,
and his seniors. Right? I think
right,
KL
right,
Rahul's juniors have seen India win a trophy every other year, right?
right. So there's two World Cups, right? 24 and 26, and those were the years KL was out of the setup and very close for the 2023 World Cup. But on that note, we've covered five narratives. We've lasted 75 minutes, almost the time for a T20 innings. We've had our own T20 game go on in this meanwhile. But yes, I think it's fairly late, and if you have to take a very quick punt on tomorrow's game, that is there at the
Neeraj's
at the
favorite
IPL.
side, the Lucknow Super Giants, and
Taking a punt on
Kolkata
punt.
Knight Riders.
So yeah, Rishabh Pant is now back in form, and but again, who's going to win? My sense is I think Rain's
Man,
again going
he's not back in form at all.
That's not form. He was scratchy. That was a very, very scratchy 68.
He's
to. No,
So that's what I
call
was
it
saying about
scratchy.
Nitish Rana. He's as both are in as much form. Just that Rishabh Pant batted and didn't get out. So but then these things do well for your form. Like having
Yeah.
scratchy knocks eventually will, you know.
Yeah, Butler had a very
play-
scratchy knock last time around, right? And now he's back.
Today he
could be the
was
same
just
case.
so good. Today it was
think
Butler
about-
of his peak. Just so beautiful.
One of the scratchier knocks that I've seen, which helped India's cause, was Virat Kohli's century in the 2022 World Cup or 2021 Asia Cup. India had lost. India were out of the Super Six, but his knock against Nepal or Afghanistan helped him, feel better. He had scored a T20 100 after a long time, and then you saw that
Scored a
magical
100
knock
after a
at-
long time.
Yeah, was it the 100 after 3 years? Was it that?
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Correct.
That was against
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Yeah.
Afghanistan. So
Probably the
that
worst of
knock,
his 80 or so
but
hundreds.
yeah, the whole point is he was still able to just feel better, and then that magic in Melbourne unfolded October 2022. So sometimes I think good players sometimes just need that time in the middle. It's also a self-validation for them that I belong at this level. There's so much of doubt that creeps with the kind of competition that they are constantly subject to. But that's the game tomorrow. We're having Kolkata Knight Riders take on Lucknow Super Giants. And interestingly, their owner owns a team in Kolkata for football, and he owns a team in Lucknow for cricket. But I'm guessing it's an orange alert that's placed in Kolkata tomorrow, and if the weather is probably going to have the say. So in case the game is not starting, we're going to do what happened on April 10th in IPL and in other cricket. We're going to start that a little early just in case if it's going to be raining like we did on April 7th. But that said, I think there are some key questions with respect to how these sides have, LSG's bowling has done very well. We've seen the way Mohammad Shami has come up. KKR's batting has done very well. They have a very good power play batting run rate, which is, I think, the second best in the tournament. Lucknow's bowling is also starting to come good. But KKR's bowling is a slightly depleted unit. But I'm hearing that Cameron Green could be back to bowl. I think Rahani's comment has ticked off a few people in Cricket Australia, and maybe they're going to get him back. But what are your expectations, and who are you going with? Is it again a toss-based thing?
4 overs, 60 runs, Cameron Green.
The weather report says chance of game is high. Rain is in the first half of the day. That's what the weather report currently is saying. I don't know. Maybe it's.
They have full ground covers, don't they? If it doesn't rain during the game, they should be fine. Because they have those full ground covers in Eden Gardens. So they might be fine.
Reminds me of Sri Lanka. But will KKR drop Varun Chakravarti? 7-game streak. He's been going for runs. Will they drop?
They dropped him last time, didn't they?
I think will that kind of continue?
See, I don't think so, because if you kick him out, you probably have some second-rate pacer coming in who's probably going to go for 40, 50, 55 either way. You might as well keep gambling with Varun, and even if he gives you like one performance every 5 games, even when he's out of form, it's probably better than whatever backup pacer they have. So if they are dropping Varun, and according to Neerav, I think they are, it isn't the smartest decision.
But I was hoping that Sunil Nareen, might come back, and that might, and they might get, I think, Anupul. I mean, that's how their lineup, potentially has in case of who else you spinner, because you're having Saini, Vaibhav Arora, Karthik Tyagi in their fast bowling lineup, and I mean, you additionally have the foreigner in Muzarabani. So I'm assuming these are your spin options potentially in terms of Nareen and Anupul Roy. But have I missed anyone potentially from a spin option in case Varun isn't playing?
Do they have a high rated spin option?
No. I mean, they have Varun and Sunil Narayan.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah, I think it's the first time KKR played a game without them ever since 2019. One of them have been in the team every match ever since 2019, so that's a big blow for them. And they're going with 5 pacers who are all, they're going to leak runs. A couple
Yeah,
of
so
them
I think they knew the match is not happening. Like, bowlers hit out, हम batting करेंगे 1 घंटा, and then it'll rain. I'm pretty sure they had to have known that was going to happen.
Sure, and yeah, I think our biggest question from the last game was why the hell did these guys choose to bat first when you know that rain's around the corner? But yeah, we'll get to see if Rahane is repeating this particular tactic, because it's a season of repeat karenge, ye karenge. What was that World Cup tagline? History ko defeat karenge, repeat karenge.
Moka.
No, Moka is 2015.
Many years ago.
This year's. History ko defeat करेंगे, history ko repeat करेंगे.
Repeat karenge, which they did. Kudos to the team that made the ad campaign. For a bit, I thought that was
It took a long time to explain it to us, but because they had the media money to keep bombarding those ads, and Rohit Sharma coming in and explaining, see, we won it in 24. No other team has won it. No other team has won it in India. Okay, now I get it, Rohit. What this whole campaign means.
So quick, think who's going to win? Is it KKR, LSG, or Rain? I'm going to go with Rain.
As much as I hate them, Lucknow, they'll find some way to win.
Yeah, I feel like it's Lucknow.
I feel like Lucknow. Yeah. Lucknow is a better team. Yeah. Unless KKR wins the toss and chooses to field.
And unless some magic healer heals Varun's form and Narayan's illness or whatever it is.
So, Sanjeev Goenka, if you're watching this podcast, all of us are in favor for your team. We're going to look at your reactions and we're going to make memes tomorrow. So please tune in and please ask all of LSG's fans to also tune in, because
all 6 of you must come.
Yeah. So yeah, with praising and bringing him down in the same sentence, huh? So that's it from us. We've lasted 83 minutes. Almost reminds me of Tendulkar's 82 or 46 balls. Not the season for that, but yeah, we've lasted 82 minutes. We've got 69 people. Nowhere near our peaks of 200 and 100. I'm guessing that this game was not watched by as many people, but nevertheless, thanks for your support.
Was the most thrilling match so far? I would definitely.
Of this season,
the other one. There was one with
the GTRR.
Yeah, the RR one. Yeah, that one. I think that was better.
So GT choked that and DC choked this one.
Deshpande bowling such an over is a miracle in itself. So I'm going with that one.
No, I think people get better over time, and it's good to see Tushar Deshpande also feel very pumped up. He's had a few, sometimes you think he's having a bad year, but then he comes back and takes wickets. But yes, that said, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, slightly earlier in case there is rain. If not, we'll always be doing the post-match. We start by about 11 p.m. approximately, just before the game finishes, so that we do a little bit of a watch-along, and then we get into the game. So that's our strategy. 11 p.m. always on YouTube, and of course on my Twitter or X channel. So yeah, look forward to seeing you again. For now, good night from the 4 of us.